Welcome back here on TSL Today. Thanks for being with us on your Wednesday. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater, joined alongside Carter Hill with you once again from the Corporate Research Center right here in Blacksburg, Virginia. Well, the Charleston Classic, Carter, is in action tomorrow. Virginia Tech will play outside of Castle Coliseum for the first time this year. It is a 4-day tournament with 3 days of actual play. No matter how it shakes out, wins, losses, whatever, Tech will have an opportunity to play basketball on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Everybody hoping that they'll be playing in a championship game on Sunday. Carter, how stoked are you to just see them play outside of Castle and really play some higher level competition here?
It's really exciting. You know, this is a tournament that Virginia Tech won back in 2018. They knocked off Carson Edwards and the mighty Purdue Boilermakers, a team we were talking about it with Chris Coleman after the TSL podcast. I forget if you were in the room. This Purdue team, that year, they went to the Elite Eight. They lost to UVA in overtime that year, and that was the year, of course, that the Cavaliers won the national championship. Virginia Tech went to the Sweet 16 that year with Justin Robinson and Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Ty Outlaw, and really, really solid team overall, arguably one of the best in Virginia Tech basketball history. But this year's a little bit different. The slate is, this tournament, we were talking about it before we went on air, is typically one of the more packed ones of Thanksgiving week, and this year it's not really in that category. It's a little weak compared to what it typically is, but you still got Virginia Tech. You got a really solid Colorado State team that went to the NCAA tournament last year and got upset in the first round by Michigan. And you also have a Furman team who's projected to win the SoCon, a Penn State team who is projected to do some stuff in the Big Ten, maybe towards the bottom half.
Votes.
They are receiving some votes in the AP Top 25. So there may be some surprises in this Charleston Classic this holiday season. And with Davidson, too. Can't forget about the Wildcats. They're top 50 in the net right now. So we'll see what happens for sure.
And the namesake of this tournament, it is the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic, which is a children's hospital that puts on this event. So even more impactful. It's an ESPN-owned event. TD Arena is where they play it, which is the home of the College of Charleston. It's been played every single season since 2008, with the exception of 2020 due to the pandemic. Virginia Tech won their first and only appearance in the tournament, like you mentioned, back in 2018. They took down 23rd-ranked Purdue in the title game. Purdue, like we said, went on to win the Big Ten regular season title. They earned a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. They took down the defending champs in the round of 32, Villanova. They beat Tennessee in overtime in the Sweet 16. And again, they eventually fell in overtime to the national champions, Virginia, in the Elite Eight. So that was a really big win for a really good Hokies team. In that tournament, Virginia Tech also beat Ball State and Northeastern en route to their Charleston Classic crown. This year's field, one of the weaker ones, like we mentioned. Not a single top 25 team participating. Typically, you get multiple top 25 teams.
Actually.
Really, yeah. And then Penn State and Virginia Tech, the only teams receiving votes. Penn State at the bottom with 1 vote. They're number 45th in the country, if you look at it like that. Virginia Tech on the other side receiving 13 votes. That puts them at 36th in the country. The bracket is as follows. Furman against Penn State. Old Dominion versus Virginia Tech. Colorado State versus South Carolina, who South Carolina we haven't even really touched on yet. Davidson, too, a team that is in the top 50. Davidson versus the College of Charleston. Virginia Tech is also ranked 22nd in the net ranking, which climbs them all the way from 30th, where they started the season. Kind of interesting, the opportunities here. When you really break it down, which there's some people that this means a lot to, Virginia Tech has a chance at 2 quad 1 wins, with Colorado State being 38 in the net and Davidson being 46. Now, with that being said, essentially you don't have a chance to play both. So really you only have a chance at 1 quad 1 win if you match up with at least one of those teams. The quad 2 win chances are, you have 3 of them: Penn State, Furman, and USC. That is South Carolina, the real USC, some people say.
U of SC. What they call it during the admission process.
There you go. They are all in the top 100. You have to be playing a team in the top 100 and neutral as far as the quad system goes. And then Charleston and ODU would be quad 3 and 4 wins respectively. But still some opportunities to pick up some important wins with quad 1 and quad 2 still playing a factor in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at this field, there still is always an opportunity. When you go on the road and you go to a neutral site tournament, there's an opportunity. Sure, maybe it's not as stacked as it typically is, but it's an opportunity to get better. You are going to take a step up in competition, like you said. Hokies should be ODU. I know we're going to get into the teams in just a second. They should be ODU. In the second round, though, the semifinals, if you will, or I guess if somehow the Hokies do fall to ODU, their second game, that's going to be a test regardless. I mean, Penn State's a team in the Big Ten. We talked about Furman, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. And then on Sunday, likely you're going to be playing a Colorado State or a Davidson. This is an opportunity for Virginia Tech to get better on the road at a neutral site and continue to build their resume before their non-conference gets even tougher with the likes of Oklahoma State coming up, Minnesota coming to town, and even with North Carolina coming to town on December 4th as well to open up ACC play. And the Tar Heels are obviously the number one team in the country. So it's a big opportunity for Virginia Tech on a lot of different fronts. And I think Mike Young and company recognize that for sure.
Virginia Tech averaging 89 points per game. That is the highest of any team coming into this tournament. So offensive juggernaut, and that's the exciting thing about watching this basketball team play. Let's go ahead and look at this Virginia Tech ODU matchup a little bit. Old Dominion, 201st in the net ranking. So really a lesser quality opponent. They're averaging 71.7 points per game, shooting the ball 42% from the field compared to Virginia Tech's 55%. Just again, a lesser opponent. Tech's got to find a way to dominate. Kind of your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, ODU was picked in the bottom half of the Sun Belt. They went to the NCAA tournament in 2019, but other than that year, they have not been a very good program. Maybe the Hokies will finally beat ODU in any sport this weekend. Man. That would be nice and get back what took place in Norfolk earlier this season on the gridiron. But this is a game Virginia Tech should win. I mean, they are going to overmatch ODU. They are more talented than ODU. And like I said, it's a inferior opponent in an inferior league and a team that's not expected to do much this year. So the Hokies should have no problem with the Monarchs, really. But again, you never know what's going to happen, and it's early in the season, so teams are still figuring out some kinks, but I do think the Hokies will get the job done in this one.
Penn State and Furman, a very, very interesting matchup here. Kind of your thoughts?
So this is kind of a toss-up based on who we think Virginia Tech is going to play, regardless of what happens on Thursday afternoon. Let's start with Penn State because they're the Power 5 opponent. They were picked 11th in the Big Ten out of 14 teams. They are currently led by a second-year head coach, Micah Shrewsbury. This is his first ever head coaching job. He was an assistant at Purdue beforehand and a longtime assistant with the Boston Celtics. Penn State last year was 14-17. They were 7-13 in the Big Ten. They tied for 10th overall in the league. So this is a team, too, that, like you said, they are receiving one vote in the AP Top 25. They're not expected to do much this year, but Penn State has given the Hokies some difficulties before. They played them twice in the past 5 years in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. The Hokies went up to State College, lost at the Bryce Jordan Center, and then on the flip side, in the COVID year, and Nick will remember this, Penn State came to Blacksburg a year that Virginia Tech was really good and absolutely rolled the Hokies in Castle Coliseum in a year that Penn State was not good at all and beat them by nearly 20 points. So this is a game that you can't take lightly if you're Virginia Tech, if you face off against the Nittany Lions for sure. Also to note, like I said, Penn State was picked 11th in the Big Ten. Minnesota, who the Hokies play later this season in Castle Coliseum, was picked 12th. So okay. The Hokies are going to be facing two of the quote-unquote lesser teams in the Big Ten. Furman is an interesting one. We were talking about this one on the TSL podcast. We were talking about it after we went off air. Furman was picked to win the Southern Conference. They have not been to the NCAA tournament since 1980, but they lost on a half-court buzzer beater last year in the Southern Conference Championship game.
Right.
Chattanooga beat them on a banked-in half-court shot, and Chattanooga almost beat Illinois in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So it's a really good league. This Furman team beat Louisville last year in overtime in the KFC Yum Center, but Furman and the Paladins, especially in their home state, could present some challenges for some teams across the board on both sides of the bracket.
No doubt about it. And I think the other interesting matchup that and it should happen, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, South Carolina certainly has a chance. But if Colorado State and Davidson met up in the other semifinal, that certainly could be an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, especially Colorado was 26-5 last year. Is that correct? 26-5. Yep. They were 26-5 last year. They were a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament.
6th seed.
I know. Well, in the Mountain West, they were picked 4th in that league, but people sleep on that conference. People forget the COVID year, San Diego Diego State was a top 5 team in the country.
That's true.
And they were considered one of the teams good enough to win the national championship. Them and Dayton, who, again, also comes to Castle Coliseum this year, might I add. But yeah, I mean, this team overall, so you look at Colorado State, they're an experienced team who, like I said, 60 last year, lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So they're going to be hungry to go out there. And this is going to be a good opportunity for them to get some quality wins. They're likely going to play Davidson at some point. And then you might get your shot at a Power 5 opponent with South Carolina and then eventually Virginia Tech and Penn State. So this is an opportunity for the Rams to put themselves on the map.
Colorado State is 35th in the net rankings.
A quad 1 opportunity for the Hokies potentially.
Quad 1 opportunity for the Hokies potentially. And 35th, that is the second highest, only to Virginia Tech, who again is 22. Carter, I think it's a good time. We've talked a little bit about this tournament, the history of the tournament, broken down some of the teams here. Let's kind of pick this thing out and get some predictions rolling.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Furman and Penn State, who are you taking?
I'm actually going to take the Paladins. People are sleeping on Furman. And Penn State, like I said, not projected to do much in the Big Ten. It's an opportunity for them to prove themselves. But I actually think Furman's going to knock off the Nittany Lions.
All right. I'm going to go with Penn State.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Penn State. It's just that there's really no rhyme or reason that Power 5, and really I love taking the underdog most of the time, but I actually think Penn State might be the underdog in this game, and it's easier to recruit bigger guys, bigger, faster, stronger guys at the Power 5 level. I'm gonna go Penn State there. ODU, Virginia Tech. I'm not even gonna bother waiting.
Yeah,
Hokies take it
I'm
big.
definitely gonna pick the
30
Hokies.
points.
Also, keep in mind that Furman Penn State game is at 11:30 tomorrow.
Okay.
Right before the Virginia Tech game, if Hokie fans want to check that out. But yeah, I'll take Tech over ODU for sure.
All right. Colorado State, South Carolina. This one's interesting. I'm going to go Colorado State.
Colorado State, yeah. South Carolina was picked to finish towards the bottom of the SEC, and they're rebuilding a program there. So yeah, no, I'm going to go the Rams.
Davidson and College of Charleston. Now, this one, it's definitely Davidson for me, but I wouldn't be shocked. Home court. They're going to get rowdy for the home team, but I got Davidson.
They definitely will. I got Davidson too. I think the Wildcats could potentially make a run in this tournament. Like you said, and there'll be a quad 1 opportunity for all these teams. So yeah, they're dangerous in the A10 for sure. They always are. Fighting Steph Curry's.
Yes. The Fighting Steph Curry's. There you go. All right. So for me, let's say my bracket ends up being Penn State and Virginia Tech. I'm going Virginia Tech. I think it's a little closer than maybe it should be. I think that's the first time Tech gets a little battle tested. William and Mary gave him a little bit of trouble, you could say, but not much. I think that's the first time Tech gets a little battle tested, maybe a little too close to comfort. Tech pulls away at the end. And for you, it would be Furman, Virginia Tech. Who you got in that game?
I would pick the Hokies, and people would say that's another trap game for Virginia Tech against the Paladins. But Mike Young knows how to coach in the Southern Conference. Keep in mind, he spent almost 30 years coaching at Wofford, and he knocked off Power 5 teams with the Terriers. He beat North Carolina in the Dean Dome. He beat Georgia Tech. He beat Virginia Tech in Castle Coliseum. So there are a couple things that he did so well there. He knows how to navigate the Southern Conference, and he knows not to overlook any of those opponents because he's been in the other seat plenty of times. So I think the Hokies will knock off Furman and advance to the championship game on Sunday.
Colorado State, Davidson. This is where it really gets dicey here. Your thoughts?
I got Davidson. They seem to always perform in these tournaments. And Colorado State, we touched on them. They're interesting, but Davidson has something to prove with a new head coach. And I think the Wildcats could potentially make a run to win this tournament, but I do have them going to the championship game down there in Charleston.
I'm going to go Colorado State in that one. So for me, my championship will be Virginia Tech versus Colorado State. I just think this is a Colorado State team that's pretty darn good, return a lot of starters from last year, and are ready to go for probably another nice NCAA tournament appearance. So for you, you got Davidson, Virginia Tech. For me, Colorado State, Virginia Tech. Who's your champion? Who's hanging that, raising that trophy?
I'll say this. I'd be very surprised if Virginia Tech doesn't win this tournament. I think they will be tested in this tournament.
I think it would be a massive disappointment if they don't win this tournament because they are clearly on paper the best team, and it's not really that close. Colorado State's close, but
I think Colorado State and Davidson could challenge them in the championship game, and they potentially could pull off the upset. But this Virginia Tech team, I mean, look at how well they're shooting offensively. They're one of the highest. They're one of the most efficient offenses in the ACC in the entire country.
Well, that's the problem. At some point, you're going to have a night where the team goes cold and they shoot 20% from three, and you don't have that production inside, and you're like, what do? We just only scored 68 points.
I got you. I thought about that. I actually think that's going to happen in the ODU game. But I think Tech is going to overcome that. It's a day game. You're traveling
Yeah.
for the first time in Charleston. There's not going to be a lot of people in attendance.
Right.
But I think the Hokies will be able to overcome the Monarchs. But yeah, I mean, they're shooting at such a high clip. And their defense, while it needs to get better, particularly down low with Grant Basile, is good enough to win this tournament.
Which we learned today. His mom actually emailed the Virginia Tech PA announcer. Chris Coleman just told me. And,
Really?
And I apologize to interrupt.
No,
It's
good. You're good.
Basile.
Basile.
With his, like a Z. Basile. That's how you
Basile.
pronounce Grant Basile's name.
You know, Maddox is now Maddox.
I heard that as well. Yes.
That's
I don't know why. It seems like because they were spelling Drake Julius's name wrong as well. And I might have totally even pronounced that wrong. They were spelling it wrong for the last 4 years. And
Really?
then he told them this year, like, yeah, that's not how you spell it. Like,
When he's a fifth-year senior.
I just feel like the guys. I don't think the players care as much as their parents do. Honestly,
No.
It seems like Darius Maddox would have said something before now.
Yeah, I was with somebody the other day, and we were listening to Zach Mackey call the game against William and Mary, and he was like, "Why is he saying Maddox?" And I said, "Well, they just changed the pronunciation guide.
Interesting.
So it is now Darius Maddox, which I will admit to, that will take me some time
That's
as
gonna take
well.
getting used to. I'm definitely the first basketball game that I call is definitely gonna get that confused a little bit.
Darius Maddox.
Maddox. All right.
Maddox.
There we go.
But yeah, no, I think Virginia Tech will win the Charleston Classic for sure.
Glad we ended off on that one. All right, we both predict Virginia Tech to win this Charleston Classic this upcoming weekend. Championship game would be on Sunday. They will also play 2 p.m. tomorrow against Old Dominion. They'll play the winner of Furman and Penn State on Friday. Doesn't get better than that. You get 3 Hokies basketball games in a 4-day span, and on your break on Saturday, you get to watch a football game.
Well, I don't know if people are excited about that, but we are going into Thanksgiving break too.
That's
so we
true.
got classes are done. I don't have any classes after tomorrow. I can go home, watch some basketball, do the same on Friday, go to Lynchburg on Saturday. Hopefully that will be a good day for the Hokies. We'll see. And then maybe watch the Hokies win the Charleston Classic on Sunday. So it should be a good weekend.
And NFL football on Sunday. I'll see you down in Lynchburg, Carter. Thanks so much for being with us. Enjoy your football, basketball weekend. Women's basketball is back in action on Monday, too. And it's worth noting, it's going to get a little weird here on TSL Today. Not sure what the next week is going to look like. These two are still in town. Nick's producing behind the scenes. Carter, those are both Blacksburg natives. I'm going all the way back up to Syracuse, whether these two come, but we don't have a producer. So we're going to figure out, we might do it audio only type stuff, put it up on Spotify and do it from home remotely. We all have the microphones and stuff to do that. So just stay tuned. Bear with us. We're going to get you some fantastic Virginia Tech athletics content, especially because it's so exciting to be covering this basketball team. Nonetheless, that wraps things up today. It's TSL Today on a Wednesday from Blacksburg. Thanks, everybody.